Welcome back, guys. Presentation on nutrition and physical activity, and this is going to be lesson 1, and we're going to be looking at understanding the relationship between nutrition and physical activity. And in particular, what I really want to concentrate on is defining the role of carbohydrate, fat and protein as fuels for aerobic and anaerobic energy production. We want to look at explaining the components of energy expenditure and energy balance, which is a really valuable tool to use as a personal trainer. And finally, explaining how to calculate basal metabolic rate. So, this would normally be a group question answer, but as we're doing it through online learning, have a bit of a think to yourself. What are the 3 ways of resynthesizing ATP in the body? And when we say resynthesizing ATP, what we mean is the 3 ways of creating energy, and we all should know them by now. Also, which nutrients can be used in each energy system? So, if we think first of all about the aerobic system, alright, as an example, we know that the aerobic system needs carbohydrate and fats going in and oxygen in order for energy to come out on the other side. Same thing with the lactate system. We have carbohydrates and glucose going in, and out comes is we're able to produce energy, and also there's some lactic acid as well. Creatine phosphate system is slightly different in terms of there's no sort of carbohydrates or fats going in at the top, but we do need to know that the lactate system and the creatine phosphate system are reliant on those nutrients being present. But what I really want to focus on today is a BMR, because using BMR is one of the most valuable tools that you can use as a personal trainer. And the way to calculate BMR properly is by something called the Harris-Benedict equation. But before we go on to that, if you don't know what BMR stands for, it stands for basal metabolic rate. And essentially, your basal metabolic rate is the number of calories you need each day to sustain your body. Alright, so if you imagine if you just lay in bed all day, just watching TV, didn't do any physical activity at all, you would still need your BMR, number of calories, to maintain yourself. If you were below the BMR, you would end up losing weight. If you go above the BMR, then you end up gaining weight. And we use BMR as a tool so we know how many calories our client should be having each day. And when we use the Harris-Benedict equation to work out BMR, we're going to look at the person's age, gender, weight and height. We need to know all of those things so that we can calculate BMR. And the calculation, it might look slightly complicated at the moment, presented on the slide, but I'm going to break it down, and when I talk through it, I'm sure it will become apparent. There are 2 different formulas, one for men and one for women. Both work exactly the same way, but the numbers used in there are different. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through how I would work this out for myself using my measurements. We're going to be able to do it. So, if we have a look at the figures at the bottom, what we're going to do is we've got 66.5 and we've got 66.5 here, plus 3.75 times my weight in kilograms. Alright, so my weight in kilograms is 78 kilograms. 13.75 times 78 gives us 1072.5, which is that figure there. Okay, next one. We have plus 5.003 times my height in centimetres. My height is roughly 185, and that's what I've based it on for this. So 185 times 5.003 gives us 925. And at the end we do take away 6.775 times age. My age is 29, so 6.775 times 29 will give us 196. All we do, whack this in the calculator, and it will give us my calories per day. So my basal metabolic rate is 1,867. So I know that if I want to go a day without losing any weight, if I want to stay in what we call maintenance, I don't want to lose any weight, I don't want to gain any weight either, I'm not training on this day, so I don't need any extra fuel to help, push my performance, then I'm going to need to shoot for 1,867 calories. And this will be different for different people. And what I'd recommend, so you get a grip for it, I'd recommend having a go at doing this yourself. So go back a slide, or I'll pop it up now while I'm talking. Put it on pause if you need to. Have a go at working this out for yourself and seeing if you can do it. And once we know this calculation, I can talk about what it allows us to do. Because let's say, for example, or not for example, mine is 1867. Okay, so if I wanted to go through a period where I was looking to, let's say I wanted to reduce my body fat, okay, I'm going to need a sustained period of time where I'm under 1867 per day. And what I'd recommend is I might go, for 1 week, I'm going to go in, instead of 1867, I'm going to go at 1767. So I'm going to take 100 calories off every day for a week. And at the end of that week, I'm going to weigh myself. And if I've lost weight, I know it's working, and I'll carry on, and I'll stay with that 1767 calories per day. Alright, if I weigh myself after a week and I've not lost weight, I might take out another 50 calories. So I'll take 150, taken away from 1867. That'll be my calorie allowance for a week. I'll do that for a week. I'll see if I lose weight. And that's the way we can play around with basal metabolic rate. However, there's one key consideration that a lot of people don't take into account, and it can get you into trouble as a trainer if you do it yourself. It can get you into a lot of trouble physically, alright? So, my basal metabolic rate is 1867. However, if I go training, alright, let's say if I go on a really difficult run, and in that run I burn 300 calories, that means that my basal metabolic rate for that day what's fundamentally happening is my basal metabolic rate is going up. So if I want to lose weight, okay, and I go on a run that's going to take 300 calories, what's happening there is I'm having 1867 calories. That's how many calories I'm going to eat. However, take away 300 from that because I've burnt them off during exercise. So I've really only had 1567 for the day, which is going to come in too low. Alright? You want your total balance for the end of the day to be around minus 100 during the first week. Okay? Opposite's going to take place if you want to gain weight. You want to be going maybe 100 above and see what happens, maybe 200 above and see what happens. It all depends on people's body type and their individual tolerances. But you need to take into account the amount of exercise and the amount of training people are doing. If you put them on below basal metabolic rate for their calories and they're training 5 or 6 times a week, alright, they're going to be, or end up being, broken down, and their metabolism's going to shut down and it's not going to function, and they're not going to lose any weight. So make sure you take it into account when you're looking at BMR and the amount of calories. Make sure you take into account the exercise that people do as well. Okay, this screen we've been to, have a go at calculating your own BMR, so you can have a go at doing it. What you can do, if you want to, there are lots and lots of apps online now. If you just put into Google, calculate my BMR, you'll be able to find a program pretty much straight away that will do that. You'll just type in the measurements and it'll work it out for you. And when you're working as a PT, that's going to be a lot quicker and a lot more easy to do than getting out and doing the maths yourself. But it's important that you know the science behind it and how that process works. And what you might want to do if you're particularly interested in this area and you think you might want to have a go yourself, or you've got a client who you're training who could be interested in it. Have a look at what would happen, for example, if you weighed 5 kilograms more. How will your basal metabolic rate change? And it will change quite a bit. And that's why these one-size-fits-all diets don't work. Just because 1,200 calories works for me might not work for someone else. We're all individuals. We've all got different BMRs. It's important to take that into account. And if you do the difference between a man and a woman, you'll see an absolute massive difference. And sometimes you'll see, I know a lot of people see like bodybuilders eating, for example, eating 6, 7, 8 times a day, and they'll be thinking, how can they eat so much food and be in that shape, abs showing and whatever else? Because they know what their BMR is, they know what their macronutrient intake needs to be for the day, and they stick to it, alright? It's important, you've got to be consistent. If you get the client coming up to you, if you set their BMR at, or you set their calories per day at, let's just say, for example, 1,700, and the first question they says is, when's my cheat day going to be? There's not going to be any cheat days. If someone has been abusing their diet for years and years and years, doing the 1,700 calories for a week and then having a massive cheat day on a Sunday, you might get some small results, but it needs to be consistent. You need to be going out and hitting those goals day after day after day after day, and that is where the results will come from. So, have a play around with those if you need to. I hope now that you can understand the role of carbohydrates, fats and proteins in the aerobic and anaerobic energy production. We've looked at the components of energy expenditure, and we should definitely be able to explain what BMR is and be able to work that out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next presentation.